Hello everyone, I'm Tara Jones from Peaceful Solutions Health and Wellness. Today I have my retired racehorse makeover horse from 2019. This is Disco Doll, and as many of you know, Disco had a lot of issues and problems when we were actually in Kentucky. And the best that I can tell you is it felt like she was actually so full of tension, so full of stiffness. She just couldn't keep herself together there. And the areas that I am using the PEMF therapy are definitely areas of tightness and tension. Now, this is Disco's second session. So I'm using what I call the magnifying glass attachment. And whatever you see as I scan her body, if you see any movement in the circle of the attachment, that's basically the area where I need to pinpoint or trigger if I see a lot of movement. So in other words, I might stick in that area for a little bit, and you'll see as the video goes on, she has extreme reaction in the base of her neck area, right where we're looking at here, which is the brachiocephalic muscle. And as you can see, it's traveling down into her pectorals, down into the thoracic sling area. And this is generally when I ride her, which I haven't been on her in over a month because I just really wanted to give her a break after the makeover, and I wanted to make sure that I went through with the PEMF therapy and really gave her a thorough basic treatment through her body so that she could have a good shot of reworking her body from scratch as we ventured back into work. So you can see here that she's having some nice releases. And while I'm scanning, it might look extreme, but you can see that she still has a softness in her eye and she's not tied to anything. So she's basically ground tied. So if she wanted to move, she could, but she wants to just stand there. And as I've said, the machine is not turned up very high. I think it's about less than half at this point. So it's not like it's turned up too high. It isn't as if the machine is sending too much magnetic therapy to her. It's just basically we've hit an area where this is her problem and this is her issue. When I ride her, I feel like it's more so on the left side of the base of her neck, right there at the brachiocephalic muscle, more so than the right. So you'll see here the other side's actually worse. And at a few points in time, I go to move the attachment up towards her pole to help her get some relief at her pole. And she literally turns her head away from me and pushes the base of her neck back at me as if to say, please just work this area. So I tend to try to listen to the horses because they tend to put their body where they'd like the treatment. So they kind of speak to you throughout the treatment. And Disco, just for the record, is very stoic. She doesn't release easily. She definitely holds tension in her body and in her muscles. She's only a 5-year-old and she raced 2 times. So as we're going through, the moment that I got her and I started riding her and did groundwork with her, for the whole year that I was getting her ready for the makeover, I really felt that there was a lot of tension I couldn't get out of her body through the work that I do. And I'm very meticulous through the muscle development and a lot of the groundwork. I'm very cautious as to how I bring a horse along. And I just felt after the makeover that my training couldn't fix what she needed. And I kind of say at this point that she's the one that got me into Magna Wave because they were at the makeover. And it's then that started my quest and my journey on looking into this kind of therapy. But it is wonderful for horses and for humans. And you can see here that during her second treatment, she's really doing well and she's responding well to it. So as she gets, and you can see here, that's an extreme, more so reaction. Now, most horses will have a reaction through this area of their neck because that's where a lot of insertion happens. This is what I call a hinge joint. So they have the atlanto-occipital joint up where the skull meets the atlas or the first cervical vertebrae. And now we're getting down into where the base of the neck or C7 attaches into, going into the thoracic vertebrae. So you really have a lot of attachments and a lot of motion and action happening at this part of the horse's body. And you can see here, there's just an area in there that pinpoints a lot of this reaction. And again, the machine is not turned up high. She's not in pain. She's not uncomfortable. And she is just trying to stand there and almost act as if it doesn't bother her, but you'll see in a second here, right at this point, I just stepped back and I allowed her to release on her own accord because she's one of those horses in here. I just reminded her of this muscle. I'm just brushing my hand down that muscle, just reminding her it's okay to let that go. Just take that second, understand what just happened, and just allow that tension to release because we're pushing oxygen into the cells of her body. So a lot of great things are happening. So she just needed a second to digest it all, basically. And I thought I would help her by grabbing a carrot and actually seeing if we could do a little bit of a carrot stretch on this side so she could feel the motion that she had in her neck now, because she did gain a lot of range of motion, and to be able to turn her neck back towards the rib cage or back towards her belly, this is probably the best bend that she's ever given me since I've owned her. And again, we work on this a lot, in groundwork and under saddle. So again, this therapy helps to get into the muscle tissue and help to release that inflammation, any swelling, any buildup of lactic acid, or anything that makes the horse uncomfortable. So she's learning how to release muscle patterns within her body that maybe were still there from track work, or maybe there was an accident that happened within her past, or possibly, some kind of type of injury that is just kind of lingering. So this is just helpful to get all of that to go away. So I'll keep sharing her therapies and her what we're doing with all of this Magna Wave therapy as we go along. It's really helpful for her and the rest of the horses in my barn, and I would love to keep sharing all of the wonderful findings that we're having and experiencing with the Magna Wave. Thanks everybody for watching.